from the Neoshell 5 Network. This is the Takacs McGinnis Elder Care Law Hour.
All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Takacs McGinnis Elder Care Law Hour, where we're going to talk today about issues involving aging, disability, long life, and unexpected illness. I'm one of your hosts, Tim Takacs.
And I'm Barbara McGinnis. In today's episode, we're going to specifically be talking about residential options for seniors and older people. What are your resources for staying at home? And when that's not possible, what are your options? What do things cost? And where do you go to find out about these resources? With us to start out the show is Pati Bedwell, an elder care coordinator with Takacs McGinnis, and Dana Hentschel, who is our community outreach person. Welcome. Good morning.
Thank you for having us.
Dana, before you joined Takacs McGinnis, you actually worked in an assisted living environment as the admissions coordinator. When would families call you?
I would say that 90% of the families I spoke with were families in crisis. Everyone plans to stay at home and live independently until they pass away in their home. But unfortunately, that plan does not work out for a lot of people. And what they find is people don't have a plan B oftentimes, so they're scrambling at the last minute. And my advice is always have a plan B.
So their plan A was staying at home, and they had no plan B, is what you're saying.
Yes, sir.
So what did you learn from working from these families?
Well, prior to joining the assisted living, I had never worked in this industry before, and it was a real eye-opener. I started to notice a pattern of people calling me. Mom or dad, they were at home, and then there was an event, be it somebody fell and broke their hip, a stroke, a behavioral episode, common with dementia, which would take them to the hospital. Then from the hospital, they'd be discharged to rehab or to a Jerry psych ward, and then from there, the families would meet with the discharge planner and be told, Mom or Dad, they cannot go back home. You have 3 days to find a place because insurance is going to stop paying for them. Here's a book. Good luck. Yeah. And I found that families would call me kind of being in the whirlwind and having to make very quick decisions and kind of oftentimes uninformed decisions.
So, and that sounds like a real familiar scenario, what you're talking about. But families often have misconceptions about assisted living.
That's right.
What misconceptions did you run into?
Some of the misconceptions that I ran into would be people would think that Medicare or other health insurances would pay for the cost of assisted living. Mm-hmm. Oftentimes families would think that Medicaid, or what we call choices here in Tennessee, would pay for assisted living. And the fact of the matter is there are very few assisted livings that accept choices. Oftentimes it's private pay, and the only supplemental help is either through long-term care insurance or veterans benefits. And oftentimes the cost of an assisted living can be anywhere from $3,000 to $8,000 a month. So families are shocked by that price. Mm-hmm. Another misconception is that it's an institutionalized facility. They have the old nursing homes kind of in their head. Mm-hmm. And the way I always talked about it with families is it's an apartment with benefits. You can bring in your own furniture, decorate it however you'd like. Mom and dad can go and come as they please, have visitors. We're just there to provide assistance as needed. Meal management, grooming, bathing, dressing assistance.
Yeah, I know. And we still hear people refer to the residents of assisted living facilities as patients.
That's right.
Right, and even though an assisted living is, in fact, yesterday afternoon we were talking to somebody, even though it is a licensed healthcare facility, mm-hmm. the residents there are not patients.
That's true.
That's their home and that's their residence, right?
That's exactly right.
So what do you tell people that are trying to figure out how to get into assisted living? What's the process for getting this started?
The process is very simple. You do not need a referral from your doctor. You just need to inform your doctor that that is your plan. There's some paperwork that the doctor will have to fill out, and you'll get that from the facility of your choice, and they can help coordinate that. Also,
and why does the doctor need to give you a note to take to the assisted living, or?
Because we are responsible oftentimes for the medication management, so we need the official list of medications. We need to know the medical history, so if there were an emergency, we would know how to react to that.
Right, we meaning the assisted living, right?
We meaning the assisted living,
right.
Yes.
Okay.
Also, there would be a TB skin test that they would have to do, and a nurse or a representative from the assisted living would have to do an assessment to make sure that they could meet all of the residents' needs.
So what advice do you give families?
My advice is have the conversation before you need to have the conversation. A lot of people do not want to have it because they fear losing control. But I advise families, including my own, the only way to have control is to take it while you have capacity to do so. Don't put your kids in the position of having to guess what your needs are. Secondly, don't wait for a crisis. If you're seeing red flags, take action. While I worked at an assisted living, I had several calls where mom had dementia. She had never left the house before, but all of a sudden she was found in the middle of the night and picked up by the police. But real stories.
Yeah.
So Patty, you're an elder care coordinator for Takacs McGinnis and also a former ombudsman.
Yes, sir.
So if a family's been told that their loved one is not safe at home, what options do they have? I mean, Dana's talked about assisted living, but are there other options?
Yeah, there are a few options. Often it depends upon the resources that the families have. Everyone would like to stay at home and to age at home, but that depends on, again, what they have available for them. The average cost for home care is around $20 an hour, so for someone needing 24/7 care, that becomes very difficult from a financial standpoint. So if you're not able to stay at home, as Dana said, the assisted living options would be next, and those would range from $3,000 to $8,000 depending on the services and the amenities that you would want. If your loved one needs more services than what an assisted living could provide, then of course you would be looking towards nursing home care.
Well, you know, every older person that may need help, they're not necessarily anxious to receive that help. and sometimes children that want to be proactive, you know, need some guidance about how do I budge mom and dad? What do I say to them?
That's a really tough thing. It's a very difficult conversation to have with your family, and one that I have a difficult time having with my own. It's hard for adult children to stand up to their parents. You know, that's not the way that we were raised, and that's not how we do it. But to be proactive, you know, that's the best course for everyone involved. So you might start by telling them what your goal is. Your goal is to help them meet their goals. What do they want? Do they want to stay in their home? Or are there things that we can do to make that home a safe place for them to remain? So start there, and then hopefully, you know, you'll find your path through.
So we have the holidays coming up, and as we all know, that family members, they all get together. So what should families look for? What are the flags that they should see? You know, that mom is maybe needing more help, or dad is declining, or something. Where action needs to be, something needs to happen.
Well, if you're a child that comes in periodically, you're not one that's there every day, you know, just remember what your home was like. And then just look around, how much has it changed? You know, look in the refrigerator. Is there food? Do services seem, you know, do they seem like they have what they need? Is the house messier? Is there laundry piled up? You know, try to get a feel for what's going on in the house, and then ask those questions of your parents.
What about other things that they should be doing to be proactive? You know, it's one thing to get the conversation started about care issues. What else should be in place to be proactive?
Well, one thing